Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Rodney, and I'm back. And yes, I am here to speak on Kandi. Speak about Kandi. Speak on it. Now, y'all know I have said that I'm really not interested in Kandi's speak on it. Like, the times that I've listened to her YouTube, speak on it on YouTube, is basically when it was Kenya on or even Don Juan, But I've never really just... As much as I, think Kandi is a boss when it comes to her business, she's had her moments on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I've just never been that interested in her, like, by herself. Like, as far as, like, on YouTube. Like, I don't want to sit there and listen to what Kandi has to say. Girl, it has to be a guest for me to, like, watch Kandi speak on it. But I guess my mind is changing because this speak on it, she was definitely by herself and she had my attention. So basically this last speak on it was about Boyz II Men. Remember, like a couple of weeks ago, she did like an interview with Eddie Levert. And she said she didn't really think, that what she said was going to get that much attention. But she did an interview with Eddie Levert, and he asked her what was the worst experience that she's had, like, with an artist, and she said Boyz II Men, and that's when she said Boyz II Men, she said she really didn't think it was going to get that much attention. Of course, Wanye responded, and he said it was about splits. And then afterwards, after he addressed what Kandi said, he did start to throw a little bit of shade. Kandi said that she really didn't think that much about it, and plus she was trying to get ready for the verses. But now she said she wanted to speak on it. So this is what she said. She said it wasn't about the splits. She said that basically this happened in the early 2000s. There was a song called Good Guy. And she said that the guys that came to the studio, she said it was Wanye, Sean, and Mike. She said Nate did not make it to the studio that day. She said by the time they got there, she had already written the majority of the song. She said that she had wrote the verse, the B section, and the hook. She said the only thing that was left was pretty much like the second verse, but she said sometimes that can be the easiest verse because you just have to kind of like repeat, I guess, the first verse. I don't know. I'm not a songwriter. She said by the time they got there, she said she's never told an artist no, that you can't help me with a song because, like, this is a song that could go on your album. So she said when they got there, she said, of course, she wasn't finished with the song. They asked her, could they help? So she said, of course, cool. So she said they finished the song, and then she said they went to the second song, and the second song was called Beautiful Women. She said that song, they started from scratch. She said that Wanye and Sean gave the most input as far as, like, the melody and the concept of the record. She said Mike really didn't participate that much. She said, but she will say that Sean and Wanye, they gave the most input concerning the melody. She said, so basically they finished the song. They finished writing the songs, and she said it was late in the morning, like, I think she said like 1, 2, 2:30, somewhere around that time. And so she said it was getting late, and she said she's always, basically, when you write these songs, it's best to go ahead and get the business part out of the way, because, people tend to forget, or they try to act brand new, like, oh no, I wrote this much. So she said she mentioned, so how do y'all do splits? And she said, as soon as she said that, she said they instantly caught an attitude. She said the girls instantly caught an attitude. And she said they were like, so you want to talk about splits? And she was like, well, if it's too late, she was like, we can talk about it tomorrow. We don't have to talk about it right now. And so she said they wanted to do like 10, like basically they wanted each one of them to get 10%. And, hold up. They wanted to get like 10%. And they wanted to get 10, 10, 10, 10. And then one of her concerns was like, why the hell we giving Nate 10% when he not even here? He didn't write nothing. He didn't do nothing on the song. So why are we giving him credit for something that he didn't do? They also wanted basically higher percentage of beautiful. Wait, what was the song? Not Beautiful Women. The first song, Good Guy. But she had already wrote the majority of the song. So they basically came to an agreement that they would do 25% off the first song, but they would split. As a group, were gonna. So basically, Kandi was gonna get 75%. They were gonna get 25%. But between, I guess, Wanye, Sean, Mike, and Nate, they would split the 25%, or either I don't know if they were going to include Nate or not because Nate wasn't there. And then for the second song, they were going to give her 25%, and they were going to take 75%, I guess. But she was only going to get 25%. So the first song, she wrote the majority of the song. They were going to get 25%, and then the second song, she was going to get 25%. So she said they left. She said, as soon as they got in the car, Rob, she said her manager was with her. So she said as soon as they got in the car, she said they called her manager's phone. I don't know if they didn't know that the manager was still right there beside Kandi. I don't know if he had been there during the writing session or not. But at that moment when they called, he was right there beside Kandi. So, hold up. Oh, so they called the manager and basically told the manager that she was only going to get 10%. She was only going to get 10%, but they still wanted her to. She was only going to get 10% of Beautiful Women, the song that they wrote, right? But they still wanted their 25% from Good Guy. And she was like, basically like, hell no. And then she said she heard them say, I can't even believe she even fixed her mouth to even say something like that to us. About some, no, I'm sorry, I can't even believe she fixed her mouth to ask us about some splits. Like basically, who was she? She said that was going off. Basically, she said that they were on some, who the fuck is she? She ought to be happy that we even let her even write something for our album. Like, who the fuck she thinks she is? Like, bitch, we boys to men. That's how she basically took it. She said that those were some of the things like they would say. Not like, who the fuck is she? But like, bitch, you ought to be glad. You ought to be, who does she think she is? And she ought to be glad that she's writing on our album. That's what she said. You can go listen to the speak on it. I was like, bitch, are you serious? So anyway, she said she was getting pissed off because like, at this point, she said it was getting personal. Like, her whole thing was, it's one thing if you wanna go back and forth about the business part and about what you think what percentage you think you should get, but now it's starting to go into personal, like who the fuck she thinks she is. Yeah. She ought to be happy that she even is allowed to write on our album. Girl, that type of shit. But this is the thing, right? We've heard Dallas Austin talk about Boyz II Men being difficult to work with. I think even something about Babyface. So this is not the first time. So she said the next day, she said, so the manager heard him got off the phone because he knew that Kandi was getting pissed and Kandi could hear what was being said. So she said the next day, they come back to the studio and she said, you have to buzz, and then somebody had to let them in. So she said she was right there by the door. So when they buzzed, she said she opened up the door. And when she opened up the door, she said they walked right past her, didn't speak or nothing. She said one of them got so close to her that like basically they like kind of like elbowed her. Okay, she didn't say elbow, but she said they basically like brushed against her arm, like didn't say excuse me, didn't speak or nothing. But she said that when they came in the next day, that they only wanted the manager. The next day, Mike didn't come. Wait, who did she say came? Hold on, I'm sorry. The next day, it was Nate, Sean, and Wanye. Mike didn't come that day. So basically, they didn't want her in the business. They said they didn't want to talk to her. They didn't want her in the meeting to discuss basically business. And she said she took it as though basically like, motherfucker, if I was a man, y'all wouldn't have did this shit. Y'all wouldn't have came into here, brushing against me, not speaking, not asking me to be in a business meeting. And she said, and then on top of that, she said she felt like it was because she was a woman. A lot of women, we hear this all the time, like these women really don't get their props that they deserve in the entertainment industry. And she was like, and then, y'all want to sit here and have a business meeting and not include me in the business meeting. When, like, motherfucker, I'm the one who wrote the majority of the first song and we wrote the second song together. She said that Mike later on called and apologized. She said she don't know if they know that Mike called and apologized, but she said Mike called and apologized because he thought that it wasn't cool, and that he wanted to let her know that he was sorry. And that was pretty much it. That she pretty much just said what happened, and that's what it was. Boyz II Men was some fucking assholes. They treated her the way that they treated her because more than likely she was a woman. And just like she said, I agree with this. I think it's the truth that if it was a man, Boyz II Men would have walked up into the studio, busting in, not speaking, and then brushing up against a nigga, and then saying, we don't want you in a meeting to discuss business. Like, how are we having a business meeting over something that I wrote, but you don't want me to be included in the goddamn meeting? Like, what? Girl, what? Anyways. So, girl, that was it, girl. That was Kandi speak on it. She addressed Boyz II Men. Now, I don't know what's going to happen after this. I don't know if Boyz II Men going to come back and say something else. But, girl, too many people have said the same thing about y'all Boyz II Men. Y'all probably was some divos. Like, I'm almost sure. I can almost bet, like, girl, Boyz II Men was like that group once upon a time. So, I'm sure they probably was smelling themselves, right? So, I believe what Kandi. I don't think Kandi is lying at all. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.